You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB the CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
One of my favorite stations on satellite radio is 90s on 9, which is now a classic station for all intents and purposes. But the only reason I bring it up is because even though my heyday is ancient, the idea that this weekend the Yankees are in first place, the Knicks are a 2 seed, we're talking about Conan O'Brien and O.J. Simpson and Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, this is the 90s.
It's the 90s are back.
The 90s over the weekend. I really enjoyed the number of people who seemed to be kind of discovering Conan O'Brien. I don't know how some of this stuff happens, where it is that you age out on things, and there's a whole generation, Stugotz, that has no access to Conan O'Brien being on mainstream television because... And that guy makes nothing but good things. Everything that he puts his name on is good. He's got a Mac show. I could make the argument that he is as good as any late night show host ever, that they have all since desecrated it since he left, but that he was as good as anybody. And now he's getting a lot of love because of his Hot Ones appearance where he just dedicated himself to the idea of comedy. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. More famous Conan, the comedian or the barbarian?
Wow. Great question.
Izzy Gutierrez is here, and I'm happy about this because this is the loudest day that I can remember around the Knicks since that one playoff game they won against the LeBron, Wade, Bosh Heat, and confetti fell from the ceiling. They won 50 games, which everyone in town in Miami makes fun of winning 50 games, but it's a big deal that New York has won 50 games, and they sneak into the 2 seed because DeMar DeRozan can't hit a shot late. One of the best clutch players in the league couldn't hit a shot late in Madison Square Garden.
I love that Knicks fans were actually having the argument of what seed they wanted to have. They didn't want the 2 seed. They wanted the 3 seed. They wanted the 4 seed. They should have lost that game. It was a bad win in overtime at home. You know what? There was a basketball game being played, and Tom Thibodeau wanted to win that basketball game. He does not care. And I love that about Thibs, but I'll probably blast him 5 games from now.
You won't like it in 6 games because Sixers and Heat are both bad matchups for the Knicks.
This is what I love about Stu. I have not heard Stu give a passionate Knicks take in years, and the first one he offers is they should have lost that game.
I didn't say
it's
that.
Amazing.
I didn't say it. I said I love that I have a coach and a player in Brunson that doesn't want to lose that game. They want to win that game. They want the 2 seed. They don't care who they play.
Okay,
they might in 5 games, though.
They might want to win the game, but DeRozan was shooting for the game at the end, no matter how much they wanted to win it. One of the things that I wanted to point out, Izzy, what do you do with this? Because the Miami Heat have been an unusual team all year, and on the road, they're one of the best teams in the league. They're 24-17 on the road. That's what Denver is, Stugotz. That's what OKC is. Mm-hmm. Boston's a little bit better than that on the road. They've got an enormous game against Philadelphia. You want to win that game and play the 2 seed. You do not want to play Boston first. They're not going to be afraid of Boston, but you don't want to play Boston first.
I'm a little nervous, Dan. Wow. Jeremy just smacked his hands together, Mr. Miyagi style. He's very excited about me being here as his ally, which I'm very happy to be his ally, but that's not the vibe that I want right now, Jeremy, because this is not really
this
time
is not Birdman
for the Miami Heat yet. Okay, it is not that time yet. Like, the idea that this team can recreate that. First of all, they're begging They're dying for that 7 seed. They do not want to face Boston in the first round and be their first victim. They will probably get swept. I'm going to say that right now if they face them in the first round. But if you suddenly fall to 7 rather, and face the Knicks, I mean, this whole idea, I've been talking about this recently, like the NBA has changed. You don't have 2 or 3 championship contenders anymore. You have several, and they sort of treat the regular season a little NHL style, where it's like, we don't care where we finish. We got a great coach. We got players. This is what we're going to do in a 7-game series. They feel like they have a chance. And I think it's not just the Miami Heat. It's a lot of these teams. It's all of these teams that don't really worry about their seeding except for, Stugotz's Knicks there. So I do think that the Heat have an opportunity to repeat that. But the funny thing is everybody points to playoff Jimmy. After playoff Jimmy does what he does every single year, what do we say? Get him a little more help because he needs a little bit. They've gotten him more help, offensively anyway, than they ever have. And so if they're going to do what they did last year, it's kind of less of a surprise because he has more help around him now.
I don't think that Milwaukee minds that such a big deal is being made of the fact that the Knicks climbed up to 50 wins in the 2 seed and quietly Doc Rivers gets to sneak in as a 3 seed. How do you finish third? How do you finish behind the Knicks if you're the Milwaukee Bucks adding Damian Lillard?
Well, Giannis is hurt.
No, but this is just the last couple of games. He hasn't been hurt all season. It's just
fair.
the last couple of games that he's been hurt. And he played the 5 before that they lost to bad teams before he got hurt.
And now he's going to play, the Bucks are going to play the Indiana Pacers team that, if you remember, during the regular season kind of owned them. Tyrese Halliburton kind of felt like it was, his show against that team. I consider him, I think I said this at some point, he is the more impactful superstar than Damian Lillard right now, Tyrese Halliburton, and now they've got to face them in the first round. Like, that's scary for Milwaukee, and, Doc Rivers is getting everything everybody wanted to see him get.
A little spin for you, Dan. A team letting go of their head coach midway through the season, getting the 3 seed. Kind of impressive, if you look at it that way.
What are you laughing about, Tony?
Because we're missing something here, and I don't want to stoke the Knicks Heat fire, even though I do. But I want to say something, and I think we're supposed to have a conversation about Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's one of the best players in the NBA.
Correct.
He is.
Yes. Have you seen his stats the last month? 34, 42, 45, 61, 30, 45, 43, 40, 39, 40. Like, he's an incredible player.
Preach.
More impressive.
Is that the conversation?
That.
No, the conversation is he's one of the best players in the East, now leading a Knicks team. To Dan's 90s point, feels like the 90s again. The Knicks are the 2 seed in the entire conference.
And we're talking about OJ again. It does feel like the 90s.
We are back, by the way.
The best compliment I can give to Jalen Brunson is that my boyfriend's made me watch a lot of Knicks games in the last 5 years we've been dating. And for the first time, I actually don't hate it.
Wow. The question that I pose, the conversation I want to have is, if the Heat do end up getting out of the playoff, the play-ins, and it's Knicks Heat 2-7.
Why do you sound like this? Is it from yelling?
Oh, it's been a long day.
It's yelling. What do you mean? We just
had a
started.
weekend,
We just started.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's been a long day?
Masters weekend, Dan.
Excuse me. We had a lot of Tony Tonight's that we were filming last week. I was on the back end of a little bit of a cold. And then Saturday night, UFC 300, biggest card on the planet, biggest night for MMA ever. We were screaming. We had a live show at Grails presented by Cuervo. So we were screaming there. It was a big night.
A lot of screaming.
Excuse me, big night.
Dan, when your week ends, Tony's begins.
Yeah. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's what we do around here. Mm-hmm. But what I want to have, the conversation I want to have, Dan, is, are we sure that the best player in a Knicks Heat series is Jimmy Butler?
Jalen Brunson will not get the reputation that you wish for him to have until he starts winning playoff series. He is better than anybody thought he was. Better than I think the Knicks thought he was. Better than Dallas thought he was.
Well, they got rid of him.
Better than they got rid of him, but at the time they got rid of him, next to nobody was saying that was a disaster. And with Kyrie Irving replacing his usage rate, they're still pretty good, and I'd say better than the Knicks.
The funny part about the Jalen Jimmy conversation is that it's the same one for each player, right? Nobody thought Jimmy Butler was a player who could lead the Heat to the type of success that they've had.
But he's done it.
Now he's done it.
Right.
Jalen Brunson is kind of the next guy of that mold that has led a team beyond where anyone anticipated, but thus far it's just in the regular season. With Jimmy Butler in the Heat, they've been just about an average team in the conference over the last several years. They got to the finals as a 5 seed, they got to the finals as an 8 seed. The aberration was the one year that they were the 1 seed.
It's not just that the players don't find the regular season to be worthy of their time. You will not have any kind of legacy based on anything he's done this season. And I'm just as awed by him as you are, but the way that Damian Lillard got the reputation that he did was shots in the playoffs. When you're playing these games that are regional games to a lot of people, they don't pay attention during the regular season. Basketball heads absolutely have no confusion about how good Jalen Brunson is, but now is the time for everybody to discover it because a whole lot of people are going to be tuning in for the first time to see what he can do at the end of games when his team is going to be overmatched. His team is going, like, if they have to play Philadelphia, that's a disaster, Stugotz.
Philly will be the favorites, I think. Yes.
I mean, outside of Boston, they can't have a worse matchup. They don't want that to start because they don't have the best player on the floor.
Especially when you consider the size situation. And that, to me, is what's remarkable about Jalen Brunson. Look at this league. By the way, this sentence that I'm about to say shocked me when I heard it yesterday. This is the worst Victor Wembanyama is going to look for his entire career.
Did he scored 17 points in 3 minutes the other day?
Yes. And so the league is turning into aliens at every position. Look at Amen Thompson with the Rockets. He's going to be a point guard, and that guy's a ridiculous athlete.
Halliburton,
look what Jalen Brunson is doing at 6 feet tall. The amount of skill required to keep schooling these guys who are longer and more athletic than him and continuously doing it. The problem is, again, in a 7-game series where you're talking about size and you can sort of intimidate him. You can affect him more so than you can, let's say, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who does a lot of the same things, gets to his spot, finds a way to get a shot off, or maybe gets fouled. Longer, more athletic than Jalen. And so at some point, the answers or the question's always going to be, is he big enough? Does he have that ability for 3-4 playoff series to take over at his size? And that's the question. I don't think the answer is yes.
We have sample sizes of smaller guys leading teams through the playoffs to the NBA Finals. I mean, he's not Allen Iverson, but the same questions were posed of Allen Iverson. He's 6 feet tall. How can he lead a team, be a number one on a team, and take him to the finals? Obviously, we know what happened when he got there and when he got to be in the playoffs, but it feels like that archetype is now, it's almost like the small quarterback, where there was a moment like, wait a second, I think we can put a guy who's like 5'10" back there and he can kind of make something happen. It feels like we're seeing that now, like almost a resurgence of point guards being a little bit smaller, maybe making something happen.
We know the matchup issue that obviously exists with the Sixers against the Knicks. The Sixers are overwhelming. You could argue they're the second best team in the conference because when Embiid is healthy, they've been dominant. For the Heat against the Knicks, the interesting part is this year's roster is actually better situated to guard Jalen Brunson than last year's team because you saw a lot of minutes from Max Strus and Gabe Vincent who really struggled to guard Jalen Brunson. This year, there's a lot of long wings that play on that team. Terry Rozier is actually, as a guard, longer than what you had in Gabe Vincent. And the last time that the Knicks and the Heat played this regular season when they were scheming for Jalen Brunson, he was 5 of 18 from the floor for just 20 points. That's the worst game he's had over this last stretch.
He wasn't very good. Tony's saying, I don't think this is a resurgence, though. A player of this size hasn't won the championship since what? Isaiah Thomas? Like, when is a player of this size doesn't get to win the championship? It's not a.
Wasn't Chris Paul, that's for sure.
It's not a thing.
At 6'2", I mean, there's not many.
I mean, 6'3", Dwayne.
You guys are forgetting, though, that Jalen Brunson, you can't measure heart. I mean.
Exactly.
Thank you, Steve.
I feel like you can.
Thank you.
I feel like I can.
Technically, you can. You're right.
I feel like I can not only measure heart, I can then put it next to a 7-footer, and that heart can look really small.
Well,
that might not be a good thing.
They've got a bigger heart, though. The 7-footer's got a bigger heart naturally.
And large hearts are actually worse.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
On a medium-sized heart.
Well, so now, what do you
alleging? Not small, but like
what are you
medium.
alleging? You're alleging an enlarged heart?
No, not enlarging anything. I don't know.
Are you tired of snooty wines and their old world wine culture? Confused by words like malolactic fermentation? Yeah, we are too. So with 19 Crimes, you can do the fancy schmancy tilt, sip, smell. Ooh, I think it tastes like old red cherry, a little bit of wood and mahogany, a little leather. You can do all that stuff, or don't. 19 Crimes is the rebel of wine culture telling stories of rogues and rule breakers who overcame adversities. From convicts banished to Australia to the legendary icon Snoop Dogg himself. 19 Crimes wine is defiant by nature, bold in character, and always uncompromising. 19 Crimes, the official wine of the UFC. Pick up in stores nationwide or online at 19crimes.com. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2024, Sonoma, California.
Dan Le Batard.
You know how these late season games are. We don't know. It's a big game for the Knicks. We have absolutely no idea how Boston will play it. I don't know who they'll play, who they won't play.
Stugotz.
Okay.
So, no,
all right. That's fine. That's an excellent promotion. You know, I love that. That's great.
Sold.
That's it. That's perfect advertising for the game, the national game on TV
I was
tonight.
going to watch. Now I'm not going to watch.
Shit, that was a shitty sales job.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
You mentioned small, and I want to play for you guys the video here that I found fairly startling. It was universally mocked. Allen Iverson got a statue different than all the other statues that you've ever seen. I just don't think that by definition, because of its size, it qualifies as a statue. I think it has to be a trophy, not a statue. It doesn't seem like, I don't know what the height of a statue has to be to qualify as a statue, but if it's half the size of Allen Iverson, is it indeed a statue?
That goes on a coffee table. That's not a statue.
Yeah, that's a statuette, I believe. Like it's a small, that's a Degas. That's not a Rodin.
Well, what is the size of a statuette? What is the delineation that we're making between the size of a statue and statuette? I don't know. Put it on the poll here, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you know the size difference between a statuette and a statue? Because maybe this is a statuette. This was the only one, correct? It wasn't like there were a bunch of these and this was the smallest one. They said, we've got an Allen Iverson statue, and then it looks like a toy soldier.
I think that all the statues in that area are the same size, but lacking that context, you see it. It looks almost like when they're making a building and they have the model of the building, and you're like, like, you know, the Zoolander, like, how are we going to fit all these people in this building, whatever.
Center for ants.
Exactly, right. It looks like that. Like, that's the finished
It's
product?
a model, yeah.
They say that statuette is small enough to stand on a table or shelf, and this is quite literally small enough to be on a table.
You think Iverson's offended by that? Like, he's smiling, he's selling it, he's selling that he's happy, it means a lot to him, but he's offended, right? I mean,
he didn't look offended. He didn't look offended.
Well, he's selling it. I mean,
where are they putting this in the facility? Because, like, when I think of statue, I think of the Michael Jordan statue outside of the United Center. Like, that is...
I think of Rocky.
Yeah, that too.
Good statue.
That's a statue.
That's a statue.
Imagine if the Rocky statue was this size, though.
No one's asking for the Lincoln Memorial here, all right? But it's a little small.
Out of curiosity, Stugotz, Allen Iverson strikes you as the type who just goes along with things organizationally? Like fakes it a lot. That Allen Iverson
matured, Dan.
That shows fake enthusiasm for inauthentic things. You believe? I don't, because that's I think.
If he didn't like it, he would have said something, right?
I just think of him as being one of the more authentic athletes, most him or herself of all athletes, and so given the amount of trouble that he had in general with Philadelphia management. And given that they don't give many statues in general in Philadelphia, are there across the sports teams, all of them? Are there 5 statues across all the sports teams?
Nick Foles has a big statue in Philadelphia.
What? I mean, Super Bowl MVP.
What? He does, yeah.
Where?
It's the Philly Special statue. I don't know exactly where it is. I assume it's near the stadium, though.
This one was so bad because they took like the most iconic Allen Iverson moment, either this one or the step over, right? And he did it against Michael Jordan. And then you turned it into this little tiny doll where I'm like, imagine Michael Jordan looking at that thing and just kicking it over and being like, I can't believe he got me with that move. But
I wonder how many people remember the fact that in his debut at the top of the key against Michael Jordan and what was supposed to be signaling something of a changing of the guard, he crossed over Michael trying to guard him while clearly traveling.
Stop that.
Clearly carrying
Look, did you
the
see
ball.
Did you see what Izzy was doing? He said it was a palm. It was not
palming,
a palm.
He got away. That's how he was able to do that to Michael Jordan. Yes. Wait a minute. So that's not just a Nick Foles statue. That's also the Doug Peterson statue as well.
Both.
Yes.
When did they make that?
He called it,
Doug Peterson as a statue bigger than Allen Iverson.
And Nick
I think we
Foles.
can narrow it down to within the last 5 years, probably.
I don't remember them saying anything about, hey, we're building a statue for Nick Foles and Doug Peterson.
There's a lot of baseball statues in Philly, Dan. A lot of baseball.
There have been conversations in Philadelphia about replacing the Rocky statue with a statue of Jason Kelce. That is blasphemy. I'm sorry.
He's definitely getting a statue. I mean,
he's getting a statue, but not to replace the Rocky statue.
Could never replace the Rocky statue.
It's going to be bigger than, actual size. It's going to be like the opposite of the Allen Iverson one. They're going to make it like
2 times as big.
3 times as big.
His statue has to be the costume from the Super Bowl parade, right?
Shirtless in a suite. Shirtless in a suite.
No, not shirtless. No.
Shirtless with, they should use actual human hair on the belly.
It becomes expensive at that point. Dan. Come on.
That's actually a good idea.
It becomes expensive at that point?
Yeah, at that point. Come on.
You know how there
got
are
too far.
statues where it's like good luck to rub part of it? Like the Lincoln statue in Springfield, Illinois. Apparently it's good luck to rub his nose, so his nose is like copper. Yeah. And like people have been rubbing it so like the finishes come off. We were in Ireland and we saw a statue of this woman with like the biggest boobs you've ever seen. And people, I think, touched the boobs because they were like a different color.
How many baseball players do they do in Philadelphia? Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt. Do they have a bunch of others? Like, who are the other Phillies that would be?
Mike Schmidt has a statue. I'm not certain if Lefty does.
Steve Carlton won 300 games and doesn't have a statue?
Checking it out.
He's got a statue.
Sure?
He does.
I thought of Stugotz yesterday when that guy caught that Dodger fan caught the Manny Machado home run ball and then did the old switcheroo and threw a different baseball on the field.
How did they find the boob statue?
The internet is amazing that way, Jessica.
Way to go, video.
You'll find anything.
Oh, it's so fast.
You don't think Lewis has boobs always on his screen?
Definitely a tab open.
You don't think there's just a tab open of statue boobs? StatueBoobs.com.
I think he just knows the public art in Dublin very well.
He's like StatueBoobs.com. He makes it like art but make it sports, but art but make it boobs. Is that what Lewis does?
Best year for boob statues ever, Dan.
Stugotz, how do you feel about
Lefty has a statue, Dano.
I know, Jessica just mentioned
I was just confirming it. So does Connie Mack.
Connie Mack.
The manager.
No news on nails yet, though. Checking it out.
Joe
Lenny.
Frazier.
You can't give Lenny Dykstra a statue.
Well, I mean, it's their city. Their
Crucky?
statues. Yeah.
Crucky's has to have a cigarette in his mouth.
Crucky should have one by like that big Reading, whatever it's called, the food court.
Ready Market.
The famous Crucky story is just a woman coming up to him at a party with a cigarette and going, "You shouldn't be smoking. You're an athlete." He says, "I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player."
Baseball players should be fat again.
It's Kenny Powers. That's what that line is for. It's such a great Kenny Powers
Kenny
line.
Powers is actually based on John Rocker. John Rocker, racist John Rocker is the Kenny Powers, got the Kenny Powers treatment. But we've gone somehow 23 minutes without talking about Stugotz's beloved Masters, and it would appear that your boy Scotty Scheffler is better than everybody by a good amount. Like you guys were telling me for so long, it's going to be Rory, it's going to be Sergio, all of these young people, and it's not. It's this guy.
Well, he's young, although he doesn't look young. He's 27. He looks like he's 37. Maybe 47, but he was, Dan, it was Tiger-like from this standpoint. He's not Tiger. People are making that comparison. They're talking about, is this guy going to be better than Tiger?
He's a bad putter, correct? He's extraordinary at ball striking, but terrible at putting.
He's an improved putter. He's gotten better at putting. Where he is the best at, and perhaps the best I've ever seen, is tee to green. He is always on the green in regulation, which means he's putting for birdie and most likely getting a par if the birdie putt doesn't go in. But to have two Masters, to have two green jackets at the age of 27, to finish second, I believe, at the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship, to have all the victories that he has, he is certainly on track to being one of the all-time great golfers. It's very impressive because to win that tournament, when you're the overwhelming favorite to win that tournament and actually go out and do it and win it the way he did, man, that is Tiger.
Do I have this wrong, though? Because for 10 years, it feels like you guys have been trying to sell me on the latest new guy who's going to be the special thing.
Yes.
And this is not the guy people were talking about.
No.
It was Jordan Spieth. It was Brooks Koepka. They had their separate runs that looked kind of like this. It feels like Scottie Scheffler is kind of settling in, though. He's not going to fall off like Jordan did after that one sort of choky hole. I forget what tournament that was. It seems like Scheffler just stays there and doesn't fall off like Rory does randomly.
Spieth did that at Augusta. It was the 12th hole at Augusta. He did it twice, actually, where he put it in the water, and he hasn't been the same since. So,
how'd your prediction on Tiger Woods go?
Not well. Hey, he made the cut, Dan. Tiger Woods should be offered a golf cart. I'm serious. He should be afforded a golf cart.
Wow.
Because if you want your sport to stay relevant and you want Tiger to compete in these tournaments, the reason he's not competing is because he has to walk. And Augusta is very, very hilly. And it is tough at his age, Dan, with his body in this physical condition, for him to walk those holes. I've seen him try to walk those holes. It's very difficult. Give him a golf cart. If he can cart from shot to ball, shot to ball, shot to ball, he has a chance of winning 10 more majors.
I'll do you one better. Giving him a 15-stroke lead.
Dan Le Batard.
Let's go to 80.
Bo. His name is Bo.
Wow. I think Billy typed an 8 instead of a B. Fine.
It's a clear as day, Bo.
All right, $2.
Stugotz.
Number 80. It's Chris Carter on the line. CC, go ahead.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Stugotz, we have a new segment here we're debuting because we want to celebrate just the general gasbaggery that we have throughout sports. Some folks over the weekend, Stugotz, wrote in claiming of your WFAN program director offer that the morning show on FAN was reporting that they turned you down, not that you turned them down. I did not.
Does it matter? An offer was made. I said no. I mean, that's it. Okay? I mean.
Well, no, their argument is they said no.
Okay.
I don't know.
Gia was literally begging me to take the job. I mean.
Is that their morning show? Is Gio their morning show?
Yeah, Gio and Boomer.
Is he in charge of the hiring?
Booms.
I'm sorry.
No, but he's got a 12 share at the radio station, so I guess he has some
Well,
say.
who are these guys who are going to be celebrated here in our new? This would have been some of the guys that you would have fired upon getting to WFAN
or promoted
if you had taken the job. Look, man, did you not see what he did when he was program director here? He immediately put himself in drive time. Like he was not going to sit around.
Middays, to be honest with you.
You and me were not middays.
Well, I was middays, and then I think you called me like a week before saying you didn't want to do the show by yourself, and I removed myself from middays, and I came to do the show with you when I hired Craig Minervini.
Sacrificial.
Many in the middays.
But you were never on middays.
Well, the station hadn't started yet. I mean.
But you just said you were on middays when you weren't on middays.
I originally penciled myself
in. You put yourself in. The first day,
yes.
the first day the station existed, you were on in drive time.
I know, but I initially penciled myself in as a midday host, you in the afternoons, Joe Rose in the mornings, and a national show somewhere in the midday there. And then you said you didn't want to do the show by yourself. I gave up the midday position. I gave it to Minnie in the midday. I think OJ eventually joined him, and I did
OJ
afternoons
McDuffie.
with you. Yeah.
OJ McDuffie.
Yeah,
OJ, have to clarify.
Good clarification.
Not OJ Simpson.
OJ McDuffie, the
Simpson.
Dolphin wide receiver.
Complicated legacy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a complicated
We did
legacy.
middays.
Well, we called it a complicated legacy on our show right after it happened. So.
I mean,
It was.
It's not a complicated legacy.
It's complicated, Dan.
It's horrific. It's a horrific legacy. It's not complicated.
Did you see him at SC?
There are a number of people, I won't name names, who are very bummed that Stugotz didn't get this job because they believed Stugotz would have taken them with him and given them the morning slot on WFAN.
Taylor?
And I'm not saying they would call it the Taylor and Tony show, but I am saying that there are a number of people that are very unhappy about this development.
Well, who'd they be replacing? Like, who are these guys here that
Tierney and Sal.
get our initial victory here for Gas Bag of the Week?
Gas Bag of the Week.
So wait, let's get into it now. Hold on, Rich, hold on.
Thank you for the call, Rich.
Get into what?
He's looking for a walk. Soto's looking for. Now, I love Juan Soto.
Yeah.
And John Harper, my colleague at SNY, correctly predicted I would at some point go nuts about Soto looking for a walk. A walk is not as good as a hit. And when you have Judge struggling and you got the pitcher on the ropes, you got first and second in a spot right there where you need to do damage. You're Juan Soto. You need to do damage, not draw a walk. And Juan Soto's looking for a walk. Swing the bat, bro. That's what you want to get paid. Swing the bat. I don't care if he's a Yankee, if he's a Met. I cannot accept a walk in that spot from Juan Soto. That does not get the job done. Passing the baton is not what I'm looking for from Juan Soto. I'm looking for him to do some damage. Now, if you don't get plenty of pitches to hit, fine. Soto was looking for a walk in that at bat. So much so that when he walked, it was like he accomplished some great feat. Oh, here we go, baby. I'm pumped up. I walk. No, you didn't get the job done. You passed the baton to Judge, who's been cold, and he didn't get the job done. Soto failed.
Juan Soto has some of the best plate discipline in the history of the sport. The pitch that he's asking him to swing at was practically in the dirt. But if that's not sports radio, I don't know what is.
The greatest.
Don't take a walk. Do some damage.
The Yankees are 12-4. I mean, honestly, how could I improve that show?
Also, after him is Aaron Judge. And then after that is Stanton. So it's not like he's their only bat in the lineup and he has to bring in the runs.
But Aaron Judge is struggling, Billy. He did make that point. Also, Angel Hernandez would have ruled all of those strikes.
Stugotz, the Stugotz move is strong in that show, beginning the criticism with, I love Juan Soto. However.
Yes. That's how you have to do it,
and then everything that comes after that suggests that you don't actually love Juan Soto when one of the greatest things about Juan Soto is that he's got great plate discipline.
You have already put up the Juan Soto umbrella. So you have stated on the front end that you love him. Anything that you say after that doesn't matter because you love him. I mean, you can criticize him all you want. You've already stated that you love him. Sal, I'm proud of you. That's how you do it. I mean, I don't care what you say about me.
I'm surprised there's not an argument as to Juan Soto, why he's batting second in the lineup and why they're not going after Aaron Boone.
Why would they be going after Aaron Boone?
Because they hate Aaron Boone.
You don't think Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton should be batting in the middle of the lineup?
No.
Your second hitter is your best hitter.
He's your best hitter.
No.
Yeah, in modern baseball.
Not according to these guys.
Well, it's supposed to be your best hitter.
Who's these guys?
I don't know what their names are. Sal and something or other.
That should be the name of the show. Sal and something or another.
Honestly, I'm not saying this to like cause. I thought it was the same person arguing with himself, and then just like put on glasses. I didn't realize those two people at the beginning.
Let me see it again. And let me see if I see what Billy sees of the same. This is a great. You should do that bit. Incidentally, you should do Billy arguing with evil Billy, where you just put on your glasses and argue the other side.
I'm a dog.
All the Billies are evil.
So wait, let's get into it now. Hold on, Rich, hold on.
Thank you for the call, Rich.
Get into what?
He's looking for a walk. Soto's looking for
Put on a red hoodie and then a blue hoodie.
My colleague has correctly predicted I would at some point go nuts about Soto looking for a walk. A walk is not as good as a hit. And when you have Judge struggling and you got the pitcher on the ropes, you got first and second in a spot right there where you need to do damage. You're Juan Soto. You need to do damage, not draw a walk. And Juan Soto's looking for a walk. Swing the bat, bro. That's what you want to get paid. Swing the bat. I don't care if he's a Yankee, if he's a Met. I cannot accept a walk in that spot from Juan Soto. That does not get the job done. Passing the baton is not what I'm looking for from Juan Soto. I'm looking for him to do some damage. Now, if you don't get plenty of pitches to hit, fine. Soto was looking for a walk in that at bat. So much so that when he walked, it was like he accomplished some great feat. Oh, here we go, baby. I'm pumped up. I walk. No, you didn't get the job done. You passed the baton to Judge, who's been cold, and he didn't get the job done. Soto failed.
Jeremy, can you tell me, is Soto 26 years old? How many times has he led the league in walks? At what, 26 or is he even 26 years old?
Soto has led the league in walks 3 times. Soto is 25 years old. So that's already happened 3 times. He made his debut at 19.
He's batting .344. He has 15 RBIs already. He has a career on-base percentage of .422 because he walks.
That's correct.
He has an OPS over 1,000. It's a 191 OPS plus. 100 is average.
Soto failed because he left the bases loaded for Judge. I don't think the Yankees don't want to be in bases loaded situations for Judge.
Taylor and Tony would have done a much better.
I think we want to go with TVTC, something with that.
What do you imagine that would sound like?
Wait, what does that
Do you guys want
TV, Taylor's initials, TC, mine.
How about
TV,
TNT?
Ooh,
Are
TNT.
your
Oh,
initials
TNT. That's why you're the program director.
Yeah,
That's why he's the program director.
Shouldn't it be ACTV?
No, TNT. We're going TNT.
TNT is good. He wanted to put Marty Fish and Andy Roddick together so it could be Fish and Rod.
Yeah. That's why I'm a PD,
that's as
Dano.
good as it gets.
Yeah.
They also would want to put LeBron James and Michael Jordan together and call it GOATs or something. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Electric.
Well, very often all he has is the idea of a name, and that's all he's got.
That's all you
really
need sometimes.
That's all you need when you're a PD, Dano.
Podcast P. Does anybody know if Paul George does a good podcast? No. But
Doesn't
the name
matter.
of the podcast? Good enough.
You know what I'm thinking now, though?
Nailed it.
They both do podcasts. I mean, there's no reason that Tom Brady and LeBron James can't be doing a podcast together.
Couple of goats cutting it up, except one's not a goat. I mean,
Yeah, it would have to be Jordan, I guess, and Tom Brady. Has anyone heard the Savannah James podcast? I was surprised that she was doing that because she has been
What's the name of it?
very purposeful.
Terrible name if that's a podcast.
Yeah, we don't know the name.
Well, then if you don't know the name, then I'm not going to listen to it.
What do we
Come
do?
on.
It seems she has been pretty purposeful about staying private. We don't know very much about her, and we certainly haven't heard from her very much. I don't know why it is she's getting into the podcast game or what it is that she wants to accomplish with that. But shortly before LeBron entered that arena with J.J. Redick, she did that. And I found myself not curious enough to actually listen, but waiting for somebody else to listen and report to me what it is that Savannah James is doing with her podcast.
We found the name. It's Everybody's Crazy.
That's crazy.
Bad name.
Yeah,
Bad name.
Is it a bad name?
Yeah. But it doesn't have Savannah in it. The whole point is to have the name in the name.
Gotta work, Savannah.
No, not if you're looking to take some time off. You start the podcast, then you go on vacation.
Co-host?
Everybody's crazy. Then every once in a while,
Eddie
Savannah's
Play.
there. But if she doesn't want to host,
With Savannah.
Imagine naming a show the Dan Le Batard Show.
Right.
And then someone tunes in and Dan Le Batard is not there. You'd be like, forget this. I'm out. You tune into Everybody's Crazy. You don't know if it's a Savannah podcast, if it's a Bronny podcast, whose podcast it is. Just Everybody's Crazy.
You've been spending too much time with Stugotz.
No, it's like the Golick family podcast. Billy is right about this. Just one member of the Golick family needs to show up each week.
However, if you tune into the Golick family podcast and it's the Wiener family, you're like, I'm out.
Billy is feeling a bit rambunctious today because I don't know if any of you saw that the Marlins had the chance to win a series against the Braves yesterday.
I hate the Braves.
And the way that they lost, they're winning 7-6 in the ninth inning. They've got Scott pitching. He's been good all season.
He
been good.
sucks.
Awful this season, tremendous last year.
Garbage as a pitcher. Great guy.
He has not been garbage. That guy.
Say that on the front end, Billy.
Their bullpen has been bad. He has not been. He's been one of their most reliable people in the bullpen for the better part of more than a season, and he's up 0-2 on Marcell Ozuna. 0-2.
2 outs.
2 outs.
Up 1. 2
up
on.
1. So they're a strike away. But Acuna terrifies me anytime he's on base. And then Ozuna hits a home run to straightaway center.
Ozuna was flirting with a home run all day because he hit the wall twice. The one that he hit in the first inning, it ended up being a single, or whatever inning it was. Ended up being a single because he wasn't jogging it out. It was dead center field, hits the top of the wall. He doesn't go past first base. Then he pulls one, and he hits it like 2 feet past where the wall dips, where if it was 2 feet over, it would have been gone. He was hunting a home run all day. Sneaky good season for Marcell Ozuna.
I mean, he's sneaky good career for Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it is he's allowed to play baseball games given what's on his resume.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the part. Sneaky good career, except for, all the terrible things he did off the field.
I would listen to a podcast called The Wiener Family.
When we made our McDonald's Spicy Chicken McNuggets, you were praise hands emoji. Then we ran out, and you were streaming tears emoji. Now they're back, so you can be grinning face with sweat emoji. Order ahead on the McDonald's app.
And get Money Mouth face emoji with 2 orders of crispy, irresistible 10-piece McNuggets, spicy or classic, for just $6. Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.